Hello everyone, the Animanga artist here. Today I'm going to be giving you a shading tutorial. Shading is something I've struggled with for a long time, and now I think I finally found the right way to do it. So I hope you all will enjoy it. Getting started, I'm just going to be drawing a basic human girl figure and face. If you want, you can skip to 2 minutes and 34 seconds because that's where the shading happens. Don't worry, you can go ahead and do it. I won't mind. Plus, I won't actually be talking again until then, so yeah. Alright, now is when the real fun actually begins. I'm going to be starting shading on the eyes now. I chose green for the eye color because it's really pretty. Actually, to be honest though, quite a bit of this video was an experiment, so bear with me. I decided to keep the background sketchy stuff because I really like the look of it, so yeah. Forgive my wheezing, that's just how I laugh. I love the part where I get to add the highlights to the eyes. My tip for shading is to use an extra multiply layer, and then for the shading, just use the color you are using for the base. Of course, you could also use your color wheel and turn it to a much darker and more saturated color. Also, if you're doing lighting, I would suggest setting your layer to add because it will add a much more glowy effect. So it's a must try. I experimented a lot with the eyelashes. You really don't have to do much to them, just like add highlights on the tops and sort of add a more gradient effect by erasing the edges of the highlights. I then used a complementary color to do a little bit of the lighting, but it didn't really turn out, so it didn't really end up sticking around. I did eventually redo her skin color. A tip I received from one of the comments in my shorts was to try doing more than just one shade for the shadows, so I ended up trying that in this video. This is where I ended up redoing her skin. I used a sort of orangish color for the darker shadows, and I think it turned out really well. This next little bit was just me applying color to the hair and failing a lot. I eventually just ended up using airbrush to fill in all of the light spots in her hair. Then I set an extra layer to multiply, and I did some shadows on the hair. I just realized that at this point the whites of her eyes were still uncolored. Then for lighting, I did a layer set to add. I eventually ended up turning down the opacity on this layer and then doing another layer in add to give it a more gradient light effect. Finally, I added the whites of her eyes. Wow. I was having trouble deciding on what color I would do her shirt, but I eventually decided on sort of a light lime green sort. I ended up doing the stripes in a different shade of green, but I think it turned out pretty good. For the shading, I ended up doing sort of a purplish grayish. Did I make up that word? I don't know. But I think it ended up looking pretty good. Kind of, maybe. I ended up moving her eyes a little farther apart because I wasn't really happy with how close they were. But then I added blush to the cheeks, something that I really like to do. I don't know why, it's just a habit where my drawings always have to be blushing or something. Whatever. I ended up using a little bit more gray to do some extra shading and fixing the pupils because I felt like they were looking in two different directions, but here is the finished product. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you liked the video. Please subscribe.